What if I told you that our planet is experiencing a crisis that must be solved very soon, or our future generations will forever feel the consequences? What if I also told you that our beautiful and bold state Texas can make a massive impact in aiding this worldly issue? I'm talking about climate change and its everlasting effects on our environment and ecosystems. Hello, my name is Micah Ahr. I'm a junior at UTSA. In this presentation, I will outline the major implications of climate change and what I believe Texas can do to make massive strides in the right direction for saving our planet. So, what is climate change? Climate change is the long term alteration of temperature and typical weather patterns in a place. This graph shows the change in global surface temperature compared to the long term average from 1880 to 2020. And according to NASA, 19 of the hottest years have occurred since 2000, with the exception of 1998. As you can see from the graph, Earth's global temperature has gone up about 1 degree Fahrenheit in the last 100 years. This may not seem like much, but small changes in Earth's temperature can have catastrophic effects. So, why do I believe that climate change is the most significant issue for Texas? Well, as stated in research from the book, the Impact of Global Warming on Texas, research has concluded that by the end of the century, we will have seen an increase of 5.4 degrees Celsius. Coupled with the research done by scientists from the Natural Resources Defense Council, gives an estimate that as early as 2030, humans, animals, and plants will see irreversible damage. The damage brought from this will not only affect our state, but will be happening for the entire world. This is why I believe climate change is the most significant issue in Texas. Furthermore, Texas is one of the most vulnerable states in the U.S. because we see hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, and flooding. Additionally, this will affect our nation's economy as more money will have to go into fixing issues at a much larger scale. So these are some of the effects of climate change on Texas. We will likely see a massive spike in the size and damage of extreme weather for Texas and our neighboring southern states. Texans are very aware of the damage severe weather can have on our state. For example, the last major drought in Texas lasted 271 weeks, beginning on May 4th, 2010, and officially ending on July 7th, 2015. However, according to research done by the United States Geographic Survey, climate change will cause droughts in the future to be much more severe than this. Moreover, Nielsen Gammon, a researcher from the University of Texas, exclaimed in an interview that the droughts from the later half of the 21st century would likely be drier than any mega droughts we have seen previously. Hurricanes and tornadoes have also been present as an absolute destruction and loss of life. For instance, the damages assessed from Hurricane Harvey were upwards of $90 billion. Horrifyingly, according to the research, climate change could have been responsible for $67 billion. That is over two-thirds of the damages. The next effect of climate change on Texas is sea level rising. Sea level rise is potentially one of the most damaging results of climate change, but few understand the risks. The sea level is rising from the meltwater of land-based ice sheets and mountain glaciers, which adds to the ocean's volume. According to the article, 10 Things You Should Know About Sea Level Rise by NASA, there is enough water stored as ice to raise sea levels 230 feet. Additionally, climate change is driving more migration, as a 2017 study by the Texas Tribune has given an estimate of 1.5 million Americans that will likely have to relocate to Texas by 2100 due to sea level rising. So here are 3 core challenges / problems to deal with to solve climate change. The first core challenge comes from the food industry, and in particular the meat and dairy sector, as they are one of the most important contributors to climate change and is the world's 3rd largest emitter of greenhouse gases. The second core challenge is the burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas, which amounts to 75% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Oil specifically releases a huge amount of carbon when burned, approximately a third of the world's total carbon emissions. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, Texas is the top crude, oil, and natural gas producing state in the nation. In 2021, Texas accounted for 43% of the nation's crude oil production and 25% of its marketed natural gas production. The third core challenge is that there is still a large percentage of Texans who choose to not believe in climate change. According to a statewide survey done by the University of Texas at Austin, 35% either do not believe in climate change or are not sure. However, when asked about how much the U.S. government should be doing about climate change, only 30% stated a great deal, while the others range from no opinion to a moderate amount. I believe these answers are very concerning with the level of urgency scientists have labeled these issues not only for Texans, but our planet as a whole. So, how do we address these issues? The first is limiting the amount of dairy and meat we consume in Texas. The other way we can combat this issue is by limiting the amount of oil production produced by Texan companies and instead investing in public transportation and more walkable cities. This would greatly decrease the amount of carbon emissions in our ecosystem. Another huge step we could take is by creating multiple government awareness campaigns to spread the dangers of climate change and the importance of acting on it. So we will get some criticism for this, of course. One of them being that cutting meat completely may not be doable for many, as meat is an essential nutrient. And according to some experts, veganism increases risk for many vitamin deficiencies. Another criticism of these strategies is that oil production is a huge part of Texas' economy. In 2021, oil production tax revenue in Texas was reportedly over $6 billion. Additionally, the oil industry alone makes up 9% of Texas' economy. Limiting oil production in Texas could decrease our state revenue. The last criticism one may give from these strategies is that the government campaigns can be pricey. One example for this would be the Real Cost, a campaign dedicated to preventing youth from smoking tobacco. The Real Cost campaign cost the U.S. $250 million, and Texas alone may not be able to supply the funds for an awareness campaign dedicated to spreading the word on the dangers of global warming. So my response is to start small. I still believe there are ways we can deal with these issues without ruining our physical health, our economy, or losing massive amounts of money. I believe that starting small is the best approach we have. We may not all be able to cut meat completely, but we can start by cutting 1/4 from our diets. According to one recent study, if every person in the U.S. cut their meat consumption by 25%, it would reduce annual greenhouse gas emissions by 1%. While we might not have the support from the whole nation, if most people in Texas cut only 1/4 of meat from their diet, we could see gradual change, inspire others to do the same. And additionally, enacting small policies for oil manufacturers regarding the amount of oil they can produce could significantly impact our ecosystem. By limiting the amount of oil we produce, we can limit mass consumption, which is never good for the environment. Lastly, if Texas come together to vote for a political figure who understands the dangers of global warming, we could gradually make structural change from laws, campaigns, and inspire others to make the right steps to save our planet. So climate change is a paramount issue, which I can't see getting around without making structural change. However, what it would take for me to change my opinion is that if there is more information coming out regarding the severity of climate change, for example, providing that the Earth is heating up naturally instead of human influences, or if there's other alternatives that we could take preventive measures, such as an invention that could reverse climate change. So lastly, I wanted to end a quote I found from an interview done by the Texas Tribune. I believe that this quote from Catherine Hayhoe, who is a professor at the University of Texas Tech, is a great reminder that we are not only doing this for ourselves, but to save future generations from a terrible and avoidable situation.